I love that picture that you sent me of like, oh, this is delicious cheese, and it was the most brown, standard British, bog standard British looking meal I've ever seen in my life.
No, but that actually,
Where
okay,
it's
I,
a
I,
smashed pie brown, bread brown, and
I,
then just like giant pieces of cheese on
yeah, I
top.
fully recognise that's what it looked like. It was a simple lunch, but actually, it was a so that was a Scotch pie made by uh the kitchens at T-Bay where we stopped yesterday, and what else was there? Just looking at my brown meal. Um, oh yeah,
That
so
reminds
yeah,
me of the
some
meme where the guy has like he's got beans and then he's got the like the cheese buddy with the block of cheese in the middle
yeah.
and is like, oh, be best meal in the world, and that's and then somebody writes on the bottom, why do the British still eat like the planes are overhead?
Yeah, or like the plague is about to hit. No, no. Well, to be fair, it was soda bread, so quite nice, and the cheese was gorgeous. It was like it was a nice block of Minger cheese.
I can't believe they call it that. That's
Yeah.
pretty good. That's
Well, the
pretty
uh,
good.
the 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 girl behind the counter just said that she giggles every time she's scanning it. Yeah,
You,
yeah.
can I get you a slice of minja?
That Minger, not Minger. Hello and welcome back to Archeo Scoop. This is the show.
Where we talk about Stonehenge for the fourth week in a row.
Apparently, yeah, apparently. I'm fairly certain I know which story is going to be one of Michelle's stories, and indeed this week it is her turn to go first. So, are you going to surprise me?
I mean, I could pick the second story first, but let's get this out of the way because, as we know, Stonehenge is the Dark Souls of
Yeah.
archaeology. But there's a very important point that I want to make about this. And obviously, as we know, the news is always reporting this in a specific way to give it a specific slant,
Yeah, yeah.
especially around midsummer. And isn't it interesting that this comes up just as midsummer hits? But also because any excuse to talk about Dr. Phil Harding and go, ooh, R
Who
is one
are? Yeah,
is one I will gladly take.
yeah.
Any turn of mention of Uncle Phil's hat.
Hmm.
So this was the story that made the headlines all last week, which was a surprising 5,000-year-old monument discovered in England. Stonehenge's solar secret may be older than we thought. Now, to be fair, they are not talking about the monument.
No.
They're talking about the landscape. And this is why I think people get really uppity and sniffy about this, going, you see, oh, it's always been pig. You just go, give it a second,
Hmm.
because when
Hmm.
you actually read what they're talking about, it actually has nothing to do with Stonehenge, the monument.
No.
So here we go. Newly identified prehistoric structure near Stonehenge
Yeah.
may push the story of solar alignment in the famous landscape back by at least 500 years. Wessex archaeology has announced the discovery of a 5,000-year-old timber monument at Bulford in Wiltshire. And of course, because it's Wiltshire, in comes Dr. Phil Harding. Ooh, or an
Hmm.
excavated revealed that may be the earliest known solstice-lined structure in the Stonehenge landscape, not the monument, long before the Great Sarsen stones were
Yeah.
raised.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Uh, but the thing is that this is as amazing as a discovery as this is, and it
Hmm.
goes on for a while. I talk about there's two lost posts and how they actually managed to find the precise view of the sun, etc. I'll let you read the rest of this discovery because they really they're also touting it as a possible prototype for Stonehenge. And again, that's a bit like the wording
Mm.
on that is not so great
I'm not
because
happy with
we
that.
don't we yeah we don't
No.
know that. And I know our good friend Professor Howard Williams TM also did not agree with the prototype. He's like, why can't it just be another site? Why does it have to be a prototype? And I agree. I don't think it's a prototype.
Yeah.
But again, it's why they say possible prototype. So again, still is an incredible discovery,
Hmm.
has nothing to do with the monument, but we're talking about the landscape in Sedgwick. There are other things that were part of the discovery which were cool. So the discovery came from excavations carried out actually several years ago,
Hmm.
and they found feasting evidence, a ritual, and a rare flint knife. And so there actually are things that they found which were really cool, but
Yeah.
it does go on for quite a bit. But I want to take this moment to talk about the fact that there is another solstice site, older and bigger than Stonehenge, right next to it. Mark,
Mm.
do you know what site this is?
Are you talking about Avebury?
Yeah,
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah.
10 on 10, Mark.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just 38 kilometers north of Stonehenge, Avebury
Mm.
uh, draws its own annual solstice visitors who want a more up close and personal experience with Britain's ancient standing stones. And the thing is, it's interesting that people really go crazy over Stonehenge when Avebury is older and larger.
Yeah.
And and yet,
Hmm. Yeah.
Avebury is the oldest, dating to at least around 3000 BC to 2200 BC, and it is actually a henge.
It is actually a henge, which Stonehenge isn't. And also, I'll just posit a reason why people know more about or visit Stonehenge more than they do Avebury. It's because you can't monetize the village in the middle of Avebury. You can't
Interesting.
limit access, and therefore you can't monetize it. So but that might just be me being slightly cynical, but it's a reason. It's a possible reason.
Yeah, it says Avebury, the entire henge completely encircles the tiny village of
Yeah,
Avebury,
yeah,
which includes a handful of shops, homes, and the Red Lion pub.
yeah,
Very nice. Go there and have a nice chippy.
yeah.
Have yourself a nice pint. But Avebury is, if you look at it, is absolutely enormous. It's literally the size of a village. It's
Mm,
huge.
mm.
And yet and it is actually a henge, and people don't go there, even though it's older and bigger than Stonehenge.
Well,
So again, not to,
that's not entirely fair. Some people do go, and certainly archaeologists, people who are interested in the landscape, and also near pagans do go. They do go, but it's just not as famous. Yeah. Can I just expand a little bit on this solar alignment? So it's two large pit
I hate
holes.
to compartmentalize, but may I? May
Yeah,
I?
yeah, yeah, yeah. May I please, Miss? Um, may I have another? The no, so three. The site is about 3 miles away from Stonehenge, and it comprises of two post holes, which would have had two long, large logs, sticks in the ground that would have cast a shadow at crucial times of the year. And presumably, those two shadows being in line with each other would have given a sense of. So you can get alignments from it. Um, the two holes were 120 meters apart, which is
Mine too. A
I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole. Uh, no, that was a bad pun.
That was
Like,
a yeah.
120 meters apart, which is and Howard has sort of touched on this is an interesting thing to say that these two are therefore a concurrent monument or represent a functional thing together. That said, though, line of sight and into visibility and all this sort of stuff is important, and it's clear that this would have been possible. So, but the issue being though that, as you say, this possibly has been slightly rushed out in order to get the midsummer headlines. That I don't think it's as sound as it might be. And the problem and the reason why I'm a little bit concerned about this is that Phil Harding has been saying this has been like one of the most important discoveries of his career. Uh, uh,
It is a big
it
discovery,
is. It's
but
brilliant, but it's not complete yet, as it were. One of the greatest finds of my career. There you go. That's a direct quote. He says. And given that this is 3 miles away, did you know that there's another wooden henge like?
Durrington Walls, I know.
Not no, not quite Durring. Well, it's at Durrington Walls, but it's Woodhenge, which is
Oh
sort of
yes.
next to Durrington Walls. That is not only closer, um, within I think 2 miles, maybe 1.5 or something like that, but also as well, it's actually on
You
a.
know, it's a bit naff.
It's not, no, but actually, interestingly, back in 2008, there was a paper published, which I shall share a link to down below, um, which posited Mike Parker Pearson was involved with this research. That posited
Hmm.
a direct connection via the river and also a processual way which was identified that approached Stonehenge. Um, and so, in that sense, the idea of the landscape being essentially one big monument, or certainly one monumental landscape in which interconnected uh, activities were happening. I didn't say the word. Activities were happening. It's not controversial, but it's just interesting this that this proto monument with two holes is being described as potentially a precursor to Stonehenge, whereas actually that's that headline, that pithy headline, it fails to put into full context the context of the monuments that we actually do recognise in its landscape. Also, as well, on the site of Stonehenge, I think in the car park a few years ago, they found a Mesolithic hole in the ground that was they it has been described as being a like a totem pole, which would have been a precursor to Stonehenge on the site of Stonehenge, not 3 miles away.
Yeah, but they're already monetizing the car park, so
No,
what
no,
the totem
exactly. Yeah,
pole?
yeah. But I'm excited about the idea. I'm excited for the team, but it was possibly a little bit cart before horse, maybe in this instance. Yeah,
Yeah, as I say, still a
mm,
great discovery, but uh, they have to put it into context, which
yeah,
is they're specifically talking about a monument that's important for the solstice.
yeah,
That there does seem to be feasting at the time when the sun is there.
mm,
Uh, but as we say, there are other monuments and other parts of the landscape that already do that are a lot older than Stonehenge.
yeah, and that have a more directly provable connection to the Stonehenge immediate landscape. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, very interesting story. And my first story of the week is from phys.org. And it has the fantastic headline: The bond between humans and dogs remains remarkably consistent across societies, a cross cultural study has revealed. A new study by international research team led by Friedrich Schiller University, Jena, and the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology in Leipzig has revealed striking similarities in the way that humans and dogs interact in very different societies. The research is published in the Journal of Scientific Reports, and it is open access.
Hey,
Hey!
very
Researchers
nice.
tested hunting dogs and their owners in 5 rural communities in Vanuatu.
I am very sorry to everybody who speaks a Germanic language, including English speakers.
I don't think that was a Germanic word. Mongolia, Madagascar, Peru, and Germany. Despite major differences in culture, environment, and dog keeping practices, the study found that the relationship between dogs and humans is remarkably consistent around the world. Most previous research on dog cognition has been conducted in Western educated, industrialized, rich, and democratic, also known as weird, societies. However, around 3/4 of the world's dogs do not live in a weird society. Many are free ranging and work as hunting dogs or guard dogs and interact with humans in very different social and work settings. To broaden this perspective, the team developed a cross cultural test battery consisting of 6 well established behavioral experiments and a questionnaire exploring the emotional and practical aspects of the bond between dogs and humans. They studied a total of 164 dog owner pairs, 34 in Germany, 30 in Vanuatu, yeah, 35 in Mongolia, 33 in Madagascar, and 32 in Peru. The team included local helpers whose input was particularly important for the refining the study's cross-cultural aspects. As we've discussed before, if you speak the language, it's crucial
Hmm.
to understand what's going on in the culture. So yeah, um, dogs live with humans almost everywhere, but not in the same way, says the first author Juliane Brauer of the Dog Studies Project at Friedrich Schiller University, Jena. We wanted to know whether the close relationship between dogs and humans, as seen in Western societies, is universal and also exists in very different cultural contexts. Across the five societies, dogs exhibited many similar social and cognitive behaviors. For example, they could use human pointing gestures to locate hidden food, and dog owner pairs communicated successfully in tasks where the dog knew the location of hidden food and the owner had to find it. Oh, okay. Dogs also frequently look to humans for guidance
Uh,
in
breaking news: dog smells thing it wants to
yeah,
eat.
yeah.
How is
Also,
Morty with that? Does he
uh,
go find?
Morty is incredibly well. He's actually very well behaved. No, no, he is. He really is. He's incredibly
Morty is a little dog that has ADHD and is extremely nervous.
yeah, yeah. No, no, he's very good. He more often than not looks for, as it were, permission to grab food, especially if you drop it, he'll just look at you like, "Can I have that?" You're like, "Yeah, go on then." But in this
Please
instance,
clean the floor.
yeah, exactly. Go ahead. Dogs also frequently look to humans for guidance in uncertain situations, suggesting that they closely monitor people and use them as a source of information. Which again is this is a study which is, I think, expanding on things that people intuit, or especially people in the dog community take for granted. So people at Crufts, I imagine, will be like, "Oh, yeah, well, no shit, Sherlock." But actually, this is really is really interesting to because this the implication here is that not only does it apply cross culturally, but possibly even through time as well. Um, it's a valued relationship across cultures, and local practices do, however, shape behaviour. Some of the differences appear to reflect how dogs are used and trained in each society. For example, owners in Vanuatu, there you go, Vanuatu, that'll do, were particularly adept in interpreting their dog's behaviour in the hidden food task, in which only the dogs knew where the food was hidden. This may be because dogs play a crucial role in hunting wild pigs in dense forests, so paying close attention to their dogs and their body signals is particularly important. German dogs also differed in several respects. They approached the owners more quickly in the obedience test, persisted longer when they attempted to open an unsolvable food container, and focused more on their owner than an unfamiliar experimenter. These patterns may be the result of formal dog training or hunting dog exams, and the stronger emphasis placed on owner dog relationships in Western contexts. But the overall conclusion is that this is an ancient and flexible bond. Despite enormous cultural diversity, we found, say the researchers, more similarities than differences. The conclusion, author Russell Gray, director of the Department of Linguistic and Cultural Evolution at the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology, said, "The bond between humans and dogs appears to be a globally widespread relationship that has adapted to many different ways of life." So it's you might be thinking, okay, yeah, but also at the same time, it's nice just to confirm this, because we run the risk sometimes of, I think, um, anthropomorphizing a relationship when actually the relationship is much more essential than that. It's actually a relationship between human and dog. It's not just that the dog is being more human. The humans also are, in that sense, being a bit more dog when they're paying attention to them. So yeah, I like it, and I'm always a sucker for a good dog history, archaeology, culture headline.
Unless it's a certain dog in Wales that never existed.
Yes, yes, yes.
My second story is ancient ruins found in Mexico have never before seen features. And I really like the face that they put it. There's a little whistle face
Mm-hmm.
that they discovered that is hidden here. And he's very cute. He looks like the head of Olmec, but he's very, very cute. I like his big round ears. This comes to us from Science Alert. Mexican archaeologists unearthed ancient ruins with signs of Maya culture, as well as never before seen, in air quotes, characteristic of the eastern state of Veracruz, or Veracruz if you are from Spain. President Claudia Sheinbaum called the discovery of Mexico, called the discovery very relevant, as opposed to not relevant at all, during a
Could
morning
you
press
imagine if
conference.
she said, "This is not relevant"? Why
This is very, very nice discovery you've got there. I'm afraid it's not relevant, which means we shan't be funding you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Saying her
In
government would
fact,
allocate
give me your
resources.
camera.
There you
No
go.
photos.
Yeah.
Like,
But saying her government would allocate resources, so there you go, and that's why
okay.
it's
Yeah. Yeah.
very relevant,
Yeah.
as you say, Mark. Yes, so not relevant at all. Resource. for the investigation and restoration of the site. The site includes circular stone platform,
Mm.
unlike any other unearthed in that part of Mexico.
Was
Researchers
it?
also
Was it? Was it
doesn't say so,
ritual? Okay.
actually.
Okay. Okay.
Recent, so no alarm or stamp. But
No.
now we need a stamp that says this find is very relevant.
This is very relevant. Yeah.
Searchers also discovered a monolith depicting a figure with potential Maya features. The National Institute of Archaeology and History said. It's a unique and unprecedented finding,
Mm-hmm.
said Lino Espinosa Garcia, an archaeologist and one of the coordinators for the Campo Viejo, apologies if I said that wrong, site near the town of Coatepec. Dating back to the early classic period between 200 and 600 CE. Remember, guys, the Mayas are not that far back.
No.
The pre-Hispanic ruins included a flagstone and limestone platform adorned with almost squared lines or figures, as well as the circular stones. These attributes have never been recorded in this region of Mexico before. And it goes on to talk about this very particular structure. It's a very particular structure,
Mm-hmm.
said Alberto Vasquez, the other
And
archaeologist
it is
responsible for the
relevant.
site. Yes, yes,
Yeah,
and
it's
this one is
particular
also
and it's
very
relevant.
relevant. Particularly relevant, yes, very relevant, yes. We don't have any records so far of correlation with other ancient sites. The monolith stands 1.88 meters, or for Americans, 6.116 feet high,
Okay.
and 1.47 meters wide at the broadest point, and 68 centimeters, or 2.23 feet, at the narrowest. The stone depicts a scene of a symbolic character. Oh,
Mm,
is it ritual?
mm,
According to experts, they are two characters who are requesting something. They have a bowl and are receiving something that we think is liquid. Obviously, in that context, it's a divine liquid. Oh, we're getting close. We would think it's water, he says. So some kind of,
okay.
I guess,
Yeah.
maybe water of life kind of imagery. The archaeologist believes the image could reflect the era of great drought in the region, which could explain why two members of the elite, one of them with Maya traits, are depicting receiving fluid from a possible divine entity.
Yeah. Interestingly, I think it was the Maya who believed that the tears of children were connected to rain. I'm not quite sure how that.
Chocolate rain.
Yeah. So maybe you just take away all the kids' toys and then it'll rain, perhaps. But no, it's also
My
interesting.
God, what were you thinking the Mayans did? Jesus.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
But it's also interesting that
You're not relevant. Take their
yeah,
toys away.
exactly, yeah, absolutely. My second story of the episode is it's actually the story of a tree, and it's a fairly sad but also inevitable part of the story of this tree. This is the ancient Robin Hood tree, so called, is dead. According to experts,
Mm.
this is the major oak, one of the UK's most iconic trees due to its vast age and size, and links to the legend of Robin Hood. Later links to the legend of Robin Hood is believed by experts to have finally died. The ancient oak is estimated to have lived in Sherwood Forest, Nottinghamshire, for as long as 1,200 years, and is
That's a good
considered
run. That's a
mm,
good run.
considered one of Britain's biggest oaks. Throughout my lifetime, certainly, people have been basically propping up this tree. The branches have been being propped up, and saws have been, and actually over the years, uh, because it was a famous tree for tourism for a long time, things
Mm.
like open wounds in the tree were filled with concrete, for example. You had aspects of I think resin as well being applied to the tree. So it's people have been trying to look after it in whatever way they could for a long time, but it's finally given up the ghost. Um, conservationists, no, say conservatives, conservationists worked to protect the tree, which attracted millions of visitors over its life. But in recent years, the natural giant was in decline, and this year it just hasn't had any leaves at all. It hasn't come back. The Royal Society for the Protection of Birds, the RSPB, conservation charity which manages the forest, added after the tree's first spring with no leaves this year that scientific experts said that the oak had finally died. While it was difficult to determine the exact cause of the oak's demise, probably just old age, or probably multivarious, as they say. The RSPB said a combination of issues, including years of well-intentioned structural intervention and huge amounts of human activity around the tree, were thought to be major contributors. Interestingly, and this is something which they've been trying to reverse in recent years. Interestingly, compaction. So the number of people who were visiting the tree physically compacted the soil, and apparently the root system was really struggling because there was less water coming through the soil to the roots.
Yeah, that
So,
could be rectified though. I mean, just put a little rope around it.
well, that's what they did. They put a fence around it.
Okay.
They let a wild meadow grow. The flowers and the grass and the animals and the worms and moles and things were starting to break up the soil again. But that compaction had been there for a while, and so perhaps it had been also not drowning. It had also been dying of thirst as well, as much as anything else. But this story, it's not over. You know, the tree is going to probably have several more decades of existence, if not life. It will lose its bark, probably turn bleach white in the sun. The actual wood itself will serve so many creatures as it has throughout its lifetime, but now many more in the way of bugs and creatures, especially when bits fall to the ground. So actually, the people looking after the site are quite excited to see this next stage in this tree's life. Now, I'm not going to go into whether or not it was actually connected to Robin Hood. It
We know
wasn't.
that no,
It
we know it's
wasn't.
not.
But what's interesting about it is that this story at this time is obviously we had the Sycamore Gap tree and that story over the
That
past
was
few
very
years.
tragic though.
Uh,
I mean,
yeah,
at least this tree l literally lived out a long life.
yeah,
And it's no, they're not taking it out, as you said.
yeah,
They're leaving it there.
yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing. We have a the where I live, there's a small patch of woodland that's left alone. You
Hmm.
can walk through it. It's fine. There's a trail. You just walk around a little circle. It's called Summit Circle.
Hmm.
But it's a lot, many of the trees in there are dead, but they serve when they let them naturally fall down, or as you say, they let the bugs, birds naturally take the tree over. And and they tell people if you see like a fallen tree, leave it alone. Don't touch it. And
Mm.
often you'll see big pieces of logs and things, and they have moss growing on them. And it becomes part of nature, it becomes part of the
Yeah.
landscape. And
In the park where I do part-time work, we often find well, especially in this heat, in the summer. Sorry, in the summer, I'm not complaining. I know you're hotter at the moment than I am. Frankly, you always are. Ba-dum-tsh. Um, we actually are finding that animals, like for example, newts, are actually taking refuge underneath logs.
a newt.
Yeah, so
You sure it's not a witch in there? How
it
do
could,
you
it could
know
be
it's not a witch?
could be a witch. Who knows?
She turned me
Just go,
into a
leave
newt.
me alone. But no, but the newts are absolutely lovely, and yeah, and again, it becomes a crucial part of the environment. But actually, you mention a local area. This is also in the context of not only stories like Sycamore Gap, but also, for example, in Quebec, a town has recognised trees as living beings with rights
Is that in
recently.
Terrebonne, I think?
Uh,
Somewhere else?
well, I'm going to butcher the pronunciation, I'm sure.
Oh no,
Is
here we
it
go.
Terra Volrule or something? Volrule? I don't know. I don't know. I'm just a, I'm just,
How do you spell it, Mark?
Terrasse, Baudreuil.
Oh my good. Oh Jesus God. Terrace,
Yeah,
Mark.
terrace. Yeah,
Terrace Vaudreuil.
Vaudreuil. Okay, there you go. Okay, I
Where
wasn't
did you
in.
get full rune?
I, I, again, boiled head. I was in Manchester for several days, and
There's a
I don't know what I'm
UIL
looking
at
at.
the end.
Yep, yep. Clearly, there's something wrong with me. I'm a filthy British person who doesn't know how to say French words. But this town, the first municipality in Canada to sign a universal declaration on the rights of trees. And the hope is, according to the mayor, that this community action will change people's view of trees to being like akin to being a human being. It breathes, it lives, it takes in water, it protects us from all sorts of things. and that this is a better way to live in, as they say here, fraternity, very French, and solidarity with them. So that's a good thing, and it's interesting that things like major oak, while that desire to be close to the tree led to that soil compaction, clearly these moments of recognition are becoming more and more widespread. In this instance, these are just trees in the community. These aren't trees associated with a mythical feature or an international monument. And one final thing I'll just add to that is also there's a question at the moment around Loch Ness in Northern Ireland, which could see legal personhood being applied to the loch in order to extend legal protections to it. A former lawyer who secured the rights of nature recognition for a Spanish saltwater lagoon believes that personhood, or taking on a legal personhood, could help restore the largest freshwater lake in the British Isles, in that sense, or on the island of Ireland, therefore, as well. Um, he said it could transform the future of Loch Ness. The loch has been blighted by potentially toxic blue-green algal blooms since 2023. That if you've heard about that, Michelle, but they're fairly grim.
We
Um,
we we do get them here actually in the pond close to my
mm,
house. Not It was 2 years ago where we had a week of like 38 degrees, and for the Americans, I think that's around 105, I think,
mhm,
or maybe 100. And when it is prolonged heat, and you have a dark bottom, something that's a certain person recently did not understand when he tried to make a pool, is when you have a
yeah,
dark bottom and the water is not reflecting, it will, or rather, I should say, the bottom is not reflecting away the heat.
mm,
The water becomes very warm, and it's perfect place for algal blooms to grow. And so in the local pond we had, it was just within 3 weeks it was just chock full, and the
yeah.
whole thing had to be drained and cleaned, and it's a
Mm.
big mess. Yeah.
Well, but also in the case of Loch Ness, one of the big issues has been farmers using nutrients for farming. Those nutrients wash off into the lake and become tremendously valuable food sources for these algal blooms as well.
Oh dear.
But it's interesting that this shift in this time of the loss of major oak, the loss of the sycamore gap tree, is becoming more and more common. And I think it could be really interesting to see how that interacts also with the historical landscape. Of course, it does in the context of those first two trees, but more broadly, if people are considering trees and their local identity is intertwined, that inevitably will have impacts on the historic environment too. So yeah, I'm all for it, and I would love to see Loch Ness turn up at a court in Belfast with a tie.
Objection!
like, like, just,
Oh my God, I could see the Japanese visual novel games immediately,
yeah,
where it's like everybody shows up, all the personifications of things, like Lake Chan shows
yeah,
up.
yeah, exactly, yes, yeah, and then
Truck Kun shows up with a
yeah,
tie, everybody's there.
in comes the Thames. Everyone goes boo, get the fuck out of
The
it.
Thames just shows up as
Yeah,
as a as a gelatinous cube, as a block of
yeah, yeah,
sludge.
yeah, exactly. Yes.
Not my
Well,
fault to keep
yeah.
throwing things into me.
Yeah, or maybe actually, to be fair, the Thames is much cleaner, obviously, than it was a couple of hundred years ago. So maybe it has a pet gelatinous cube that's all the sludge that it has on a little leaf and just sort of yeah,
Or like it just has one can like
yeah,
attached to its
yeah,
head
yeah, yeah,
as a hat.
yeah, and it just sort of goes, and you're like, ugh, don't like that.
It makes slurpy noises.
Yeah.
Now, I do have a bonus story. I have a
Mhm.
bonus story, and then I have a very nice story.
Have a nice story. Okay.
Because this one of the stories comes from my neighbor, and she didn't want to tell it, so I'm going to tell a story. But
Okay.
my first bonus story was medieval game board found in Moroccan bathhouse, which is not Nine Man Morris, which is why I
Oh, do you know,
decided to talk about this.
I deliberately did not bring a game board story to this week. I was like, no, we're not going to do it. I'm not going to do that. But just long story short, there's a board game that's been found in Vinterland. I'll put the link below. Yeah,
Oh, but is it
yeah.
Nine Man Morris?
It's not. It's not.
Is it
No.
hot enough? Oh,
I can't. I didn't actually check what it was. Yeah.
Ooh, but oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh no, so it is Nine Man
No,
Morris.
it's not. No, 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 it's not.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Oh my
I'll
God.
put the word on. I'll put it up on screen, but also I'll put the story down below. Anyway, your story. Go on.
But
Go.
this one is definitely not Nine Man Morris, which is why, and it's North African, which is why I wanted to mention it.
Yeah.
It's in a Moroccan bathhouse, and it points to 1,200-year history of North African strategy games. Archaeologists working at Walila, the medieval city built on the site of Volubilis in Morocco, have identified a carved stone game board inside a public bathhouse dating to the early Islamic period. The find offers rare evidence of leisure activities in North Africa between the late 8th and 10th centuries CE. The board was carved into the upper step of a cold water pool
Mm.
with a hammam construction during the Idrisid period. Researcher, any mention of Idris Elba is always a fine mention to me. So my Idrisid period, he can just float across the screen
Just
with his wonderful smile,
yeah.
and we can all pretend that this is the Idris Elba period. Researchers believe the design
He just pokes his
matched the
head out of your
strategy
cupboard
game.
back there, or out of the one of the doors. Just you know. Yeah.
Whoop,
Yeah.
and then this one. Whoop.
Yeah.
Uh, Oh, believe me, if I had him in that cupboard, I would parade him around all day. The strategy game known as Tab or Sieg, again, apologize, I don't know which pronunciation is favored today, which is still played in parts of North Africa and the Middle East. If this interpretation is correct, the board represents the earliest known evidence of this game in Africa. And so
Okay.
that's why I thought this was pretty cool. And you can see there is a picture with a very nice little thing for scale, not a
Mm-hmm.
banana, where they show how all the dots are made and then all the piece holes are done on the bottom. And
So
so the
so
board game,
so do you think the thinking is that people would have maybe had their feet in the pool, cool down, and play this game on the step, or is this
yeah, I think
has the
so,
board
yeah.
game been
Or
incorporated
at least
later?
that's what it seems
Okay.
to show
Okay.
is that they were in the pool and also they could turn around and play the game while they
That's
were
cool.
cooling around.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Nice. No, very
But
civilized.
the story I wanted to share, which came from my neighbor Uta, who is a subscriber and fan of all things that we do. And this week on our channel, we had the history of why trolls live under bridges. Where does the idea that trolls live under bridges come from? We talked before about the word troll and how it's been in use in English since the 14th century, and how it came from Germanic words meaning to walk clumsily about. But where does this trope of trolls living under bridges come from? Don't worry, that's a peen. We know you have a really good house. And
Hmm.
so this, while we don't know the origin of this, it was made popular by the story Billy Goat's Gruff.
Hmm.
And if you don't know the story, there's a troll that's hanging out under the bridge, and the goats have tried to uh get around it. It's in some fashion, and he goes, "Hey, don't go over my bridge." But this is the first major popular depiction of trolls and bridges. There is nothing before this. But where does this come from? This comes from, how do we know about this? There's a translation of Billy Goat's Gruff that was done. And I my neighbor was reminded of something, and she is in her 80s and she went to check Reddit. She knows what Reddit is and has an account, which I think is amazing. But uh, we were talking about the word troll in the translation, and she found out from Reddit that her mother, Elizabeth Harmon, Dr. Elizabeth Harmon, who was
Hmm.
one of the first PhD students in Germany, so her 1936 dissertation by Dr. Elizabeth Harmon, who's my neighbor's mother, which is Die Trollwassergun in Den Sagen. I apologize for my bad German. And so she was a student of Sven Leopold and Carl Wilhelm, and so they followed in the tradition of Jacob Grimm. But the people who um, were talking about the translation of the word troll from Billy Goat's Gruff, my neighbor's mother did that translation
Wow.
and did that PhD. So
Okay.
without knowing it, we are actually using her information. And she had a very emotional moment. She was like, my mother's work is still going on. It's still being used today. And
Yeah.
she said, my mother always used to tell me about the trolls, and this was her dissertation. So 1936, PhD, we are
Yeah.
still using that academia today.
And every time, yeah, every time someone leaves a pokey comment on a YouTube video. You know, they're invoking that research. Is so is what were there any conclusions then as to how and where they come from?
The popular trope comes from Billy Goat's Gruff. There is
That's right.
nothing that
Okay.
we have that tells us that comes from before. Obviously, it comes from there's some kind of verbal folk tale that
Yeah.
goes around, but that's the earliest that we have.
That's cool. Yeah.
But all due to Uta's mom Elizabeth Harmon, who was the person who translated and who worked under Sven Leopold, who was the first person who wrote down that story. So to Uta's mom, Dr. Elizabeth, who passed away in 2004, we
Mm,
salute you.
absolutely. Yeah. Wonderful. Well, folks, that has been an Archaeo scoop. And the thing that you oh, okay.
Well, folks, that's been this episode of Archaeo Scoop. Tune in
Yeah.
later
Yeah. Tune in later
for
for
our
me
live
reading.
stream for the Midsummer Moot.
Yes. Yes. I'm going to be very cogent during that live stream. But anyway, actually, we've had several entries for the moot. There've been, I think, 7. So it should be a good moot. I'm always amazed that people want to send this stuff in, especially at such short notice. But it's
Mark, do you know how desperate writers are?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Do you know how
yeah,
desperate we are to get anybody to read,
yeah,
somebody with professional quality and to read it for free
yeah,
in public?
exactly.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
We
yeah.
can't even read our own stuff for free in public because people go, no, we don't want to hear you.
No, no, yeah.
No.
Now I've just got a sad image of you just in a square somewhere in Montreal with a just like a notepad, just reading.
Oh, that has happened. Yes, that has happened.
But actually, in that sense, yeah, it's always lovely to see the different stories that come in. As you often remark, the quality is more often than not
Tip
fantastic.
top,
Yeah,
always.
and yeah, especially with this new theme and this new focus of being in the summer, I'm intrigued to see what happens. So, 5 hours from now, 10 p.m. UK time, and yeah, be there or be square. Or then again, by the time you see this, it will have happened, folks. So check out the live stream, and actually we'll have
We're in
this.
the
We're in
future.
the future. We'll have each story as well will be time stamped, so you can just go and find them and go from there. Until next time, do take care. Bye bye.